How horrific and how avoidable. I'd like to bring in Congressman Devin Nunes, Republican of California, House Intelligence Committee ranking member. Welcome back. How are you?
Great to be with you. Thanks for having me, Greg.
Your thoughts about what we have seen today and where we are right now strategically?
Well, look, I think we have to first put it in perspective. This is the third deadliest day in a 20-year war. So how did that happen? If anybody paid attention closely to what Biden said, he said that this was the most efficient plan that the military generals and admirals gave him and how to go about keeping the embassy safe and getting out of Afghanistan. Now, I don't believe that. I can't imagine that our military professionals said that. It just can't be true, Greg. You have to know that. There's no possible way on God's green earth that you would ever give up Bagram. Bagram would be the last place that you would leave. Why? It's really simple, because it was a protected airfield that gave us the capabilities to provide air support. So strategically right now, there's not very many good strategies, because we're having to build a damn air bridge from the Middle East, and we're having to keep that up for 24/7. And look, with an air bridge, it's very, very difficult. So I don't know how we're going to finish this off. My guess is it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. Let's just hope and pray that, because that's about what we're down to now, are hopes and prayers, which you saw Biden do that I've never seen a president do, a moment of silence with the press. I mean, what the hell is going on in this country?
It was totally bizarre. You know, I noticed that as well. He said there was, I think, complete supreme unanimity between everybody involved, all the generals, the military, the administration. That is impossible. That's totally
impossible. It can't be true, Greg, and here's why. You know this. You always have to have a quick reaction force whenever we have an embassy, but especially in a war zone. So, when we deploy military assets, we always have to have a quick reaction force. And when we know this, remember what we learned in Benghazi. So why they would go down to such a minimal force and get rid of Bagram and leave tens of thousands of Americans on the ground there is really unfathomable. And look, he wasted no time to blame President Trump. But in there, he even admitted, he said that, well, we didn't lose any, but I don't think any of this is true. But I'm just kind of repeating what he said. He said, Biden said in this press conference earlier, that he blamed Trump because Trump gave him a May 1st deadline to get out, or May 31st. And that's why we didn't lose any troops for the previous 12 months. Well, look, number one, he broke, according to him, he didn't even follow what the rule was, what the agreement was. So anyone who, and then in the same breath, he also says that no one trusts the Taliban. No one trusts the Taliban except for you, you moron. You trust the Taliban because we're relying on the Taliban to protect our servicemen and women that are over there and help us try to get these people out of there. It's just completely bizarre, and it makes no sense.
So we've known for a while that Joe Biden is incompetent. He seems to be, well, we know he's a liar. We saw that throughout his career. So I want to put him aside for a moment, because he knew that he'd be in way over his head. I want to talk about the military, the generals. You've dealt with them. You've talked to them on Capitol Hill. Quite frankly, to me, lately, it seems like they're more caught up with wokeism than war fighting. They talk about COVID and sexual harassment more than the enemy and accomplishing the mission. I think we have a real cultural problem right now in the United States military. What do you think?
Look, I think you're exactly right. I always keep it simple, and you know this because of your time. I want our military to just do a few very basic things. One, win wars. Two, provide for defense. And three, stay the hell out of politics. And it looks like they're doing none of those. And in fact, they're fully engaging in number three and completely failing on 1 and 2. 1, winning a war. We lost this war. We didn't have to lose this war. 2, what deterrence are we possibly providing right now by showing the rest of America that we're completely weak and we have an imbecile as our president of the United States? And 3, you have all of the military general and intelligence involved in this. Look, they've continued to say that, oh, the best of intelligence said X, Y, and Z. We didn't know this was going to happen. Nonsense. Look, what's sadly had to happen over my time in the intelligence community for the last decade is I've had to basically now read the tea leaves. You have to pull the politics out of these intelligence reports that you read. Then I have to actually call people who have open source information to get an idea of actually what's happening on the ground. And so you know as well as I do, the people that are on the ground, who have been on the ground in that place over the course of the last 20 years, everybody knew that if you just go down to a small force at the Kabul airport, you are sitting in the valley of death. So if anyone in the military decided that we didn't need Bagram and that we could somehow evacuate people and protect that embassy, all of those people, generals, admirals, whatever, all those officers, whoever came up with that plan, if it's true, I don't believe it, but if it's true, their heads need to roll. And of course, just to put the final touch on it, military intelligence people running around talking about white supremacy, and that's the biggest problem the United States faces. This is what happens when reality sets in, because you can live in your own bubble with your propaganda press. But in the real world, when we have people like Putin and Xi Jinping in China and killers like the Taliban and Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Afghanistan, you know what gets real. And that's what's happening here is this woke ideology, this cult has completely collapsed, and you're witnessing this. And when this happens, people die. And that's what happened today.
I'm glad you are where you are, because so much has to be done. Let me just ask you this. It doesn't look like Joe Biden is going to fire anybody. I think that's acknowledging defeat. It's acknowledging that something went wrong, and they're still pushing that everything went according to contingency plan W. Do you think he's going to stick with the team? I mean, obviously people have to go, but I don't know if that's going to happen. What do you think?
Well, look, because they have the press and the press bubble here, there will be people on the conservative and the moderate or independent press, which only makes up about 5% in this country. The rest of the media is not going to be covering this, so there won't be the pressure put on them to get rid of anyone. Now, look, some of these people should resign in disgrace. Someone in there, like I just said earlier, someone in the DOD, in the military, these high-ranking positions, that like the general sitcom general that had a press conference today, he has to know what Biden said today is not true. So I think some of these guys are going to have to decide, do they want to stay on this sinking ship and continue to be embarrassed by the commander-in-chief?
It's bizarre, Congressman. There are so many people in the military, and I'm talking particularly about generals. They'll risk their lives for their country, but they often won't risk their careers for their country. It's an interesting kind of contradiction in a way. But Congressman Devin Nunes, we're glad that you're where you are. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, sir.
All the best. We'll be right back.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.